BJ Counsel. I view the world through the lens of having been followed by a white clerk as a child while shopping in a five and dime. I'm a retired police executive and own UN50, which gives guidance on surviving interactions with police.
I'm Harmony Chavis, and I view the world through the lens of one of the most misunderstood and diverse generations in our nation's history. I'm a social worker and a believer of radical kindness and love as modalities of healing.
My name is Andrew Counsel. I view the world through the lens of a generational camera phone. I wake up as a black male and go to bed as a black male. I am surviving this never-ending court case we commonly call life in the best way I know how.
Thanks for joining us. Welcome back to UN50. My name is BJ Counsel. UN50 started a business in 2015, and what we do is we help people interact with law enforcement safely. Ultimate goal is for you to get home. We have different guests on because we believe in reform for policing, and we also think there should be other alternatives to 911 besides, especially in crisis. So we support all of that as far as the conversations go here. And we also understand that the issues that are addressing in our communities is larger than law enforcement. So we try to talk about that. So my co-hosts are Harmony Chavis and Andrew Counsel, but tonight one of my co-hosts wasn't able to make it. So I have just Andrew, my nephew who recently graduated, but one of the things he's doing is just entering the workforce, which is probably how old are you now?
21.
Wow, and you got a real job, right?
Yes.
How is that?
It's ghetto, but I don't like describing it like that. Like it's ghetto, but it's a blessing to be able to have the chance to work and to learn and understand the workforce and to be able to also, get paid too. So, get the bag while also, struggle with life as well. But it's been very enlightening, I would say, being able to work straight after school. And I work from home as of right now. I don't work in office. This has been a slightly hybrid. I've been able to go in the office some, but for the most part, I'm working at home. So I've learned that I don't enjoy working at home as much as I thought I did, because it's hard to be productive like that. I actually like going into the office to be able to sit down at a desk or at my desk, or be able to get up in the morning. I'm more of a morning person. So, but I'm learning that what my 20s is for is to learn more about myself and learn more about the world. So I would say I'm succeeding, I believe.
Yeah, to be 21 and come right out of college and have a real job, and especially with coming out of the COVID or a little bit of coming out of the COVID thing, with the hybrid folks are talking about, either kind of going into work some days or staying at home, but you're mainly remote, but that's not. You think you might like a hybrid of that? Some days at the house, some days maybe go into a building.
I think so. I think like if I could work maybe like Monday through or every other day work. No, that may not be beneficial. Maybe not. Maybe like 2 days in the office and then 3 days at home or vice versa, I think would be beneficial. Actually, I think a lot of jobs that are done in an office can be done at home. So I feel like you can flip flop and switch as need be.
Yeah, I think it's a new day dawning as to how people actually work now. I think it's going to be different as we move forward. So one of the things that I want to talk about, I don't really watch a lot of TV or movies. Well, I'm a cartoon person and I'm an old school cartoon person, but this weekend I kind of spent some time doing that, and I watched Summer of Soul, which is I guess is a documentary, so to speak. It's about a musical festival in Harlem in 1969. Actually, I think it happened over the course of several weekends, but one of the weekends it happened on the same day as Woodstock. Mm-hmm. This particular, the videos of it or recordings of it was laying in someone's basement for the last 50 years. And folks got a hold of it and it's now available if folks want to look at it. Right now, as far as I know, it's on Hulu. So why I found it, and it was very, I don't want to, enlightening is the word, but what was interesting is that a lot of the conversations that the individuals, you got Jesse Jackson, Mahalia Jackson, you got all the old school folks, and this was a free concert for folks who lived in Harlem, and a lot of the conversations they were having about police brutality, homelessness and drugs are the same conversations that we're having today. Andrew, what did you think about it?
It was very eye-opening. I had never heard of the Harlem Cultural Festival before then, and I think I'm mad at the way that the education system is set up to me not knowing about it at all. But it's okay. I'm not, that's not this podcast. Um,
Well, we can talk about it, bro. Because I mean, yeah, because it's right. I mean, I talked to a friend, a white female friend of mine. She said it's awful that this has been hidden. It's just this just falls right into this consistency that we're continuing to hear hiding stuff, the history of Black folks.
yeah, I agree. I think because I knew about Woodstock, like I knew what that was. We
Oh
had heard.
yeah, we all do good stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. So I feel like that should have, as much as that was publicized, but we know things are different, or the reason as to why they were the way that they were. But I really enjoy watching it because I'm technically my degree is in film studies, so I have a film studies degree.
Oh, okay.
So learning, I guess like the history of film or the history of behind the music festival in general as well too, kind of just opened my eyes up to the things that they were speaking about at the festival, the music that was given. It was just, I feel like I was born in the wrong generation because I feel like I should have been in that crowd, but hey.
Yeah, did you see? And also, I mean, I need people to go look at it. Like I said, I don't usually critique stuff, but it just was extremely emotional for me. I was actually crying doing, especially when they were, because it was just kind of, I don't know this for a fact because I've never watched any documentaries of Woodstock, but I don't think they had any gospel singers at Woodstock. They may have, I don't know. I mean, so somebody have to correct me on that, but it was just, it was moving. It was, and when you were just speaking about the documentaries, because they do interviews with stuff that is actually occurring, things that are going on in the community. It's just, we got Bezos and what's his face just went up to kind of the edges of the outer space, right?
Yeah.
And they also interviewed these Black folks because I think they had just gone to the moon. And they were saying stuff like, why are we spending money on
Oh,
to the
I
moon?
remember that.
We got homeless people and stuff down here. Why are we spending that kind of money? And here we are basically doing the same thing with Bezos and these billionaires. Why y'all spending money flying around up there and we still got all this stuff down here on the earth? I mean, it was just, I get what they were saying. I mean, you got to start preparing for the future, right? And I get that, but it was just kind of interesting to hear, yeah, these rich guys are going up here, and in '69 they went and landed on the moon, and these folks are having it. Black folks are like, well, why are you spending money on that?
There were a lot of comparisons and contrasts in regard to like today to the things that they were speaking about back then as well too. I think because there was something, I think what was it? Was it the heroin pandemic that they were referring to?
Yes, heroin
pandemic.
Yeah.
So they were mentioning a lot about I guess like the discrepancies and the oppression about how not just by police, just by Black people being oppressed in Harlem, just in general. And I was listening to it and I was like, some of these things line up to today, and it was crazy to think about like that, how far long ago that was. And that, I hate saying long ago because it really wasn't that far long ago, but
that was for you.
yeah, right. Thank you. It was.
Yeah, and also I think I just love the fact they talked about, they give this portrayal of Black folks not being able to live in a community and how it's violent. And they were talking about the unity all of the Black and brown folks, the Latino. They had all that music, and it was a community. I mean, it was a community that was good.
Right.
But you have this narrative of this drug infested, violent part of New York called Harlem. And when all the music came out of Harlem, this festival, and for me, I was just really moved by it. It was energizing to make me continue to do the work that I'm doing.
Right.
Especially having to listen to the fact that they're still having the same conversation. So it just kind of, I guess that's why I kind of want to talk about it. It's just kind of committed for me to continue to do what I'm doing for my community, whatever that looks like. But I just got really energized to just continue to speak my truth in the spaces I feel like I need to do that. And I would encourage folks too, that whatever your truth is, or whatever you feel like you can do to help, whatever that is, but that's just how inspirational it was for me.
Right, I agree. I think so your point, one of your points that you mentioned right then too. I appreciate you talking about the communal and community part of it as well too. There was a lady, I can't. There were so many people that were talking because I was enjoyed them all. But there was a lady near the beginning of the film or the documentary that was discussing how the media portrayed Harlem and how she was describing so like when they were broken down buildings, businesses were closing down.
Right.
But then she juxtapositioned that with how she saw it with her being raised there. And she was like, this was our Camelot. And that phrase stuck with me so hard because I was like, wow, I was like, to think about how we see it or how other people see it from the outside in, seeing it and having such a negative connotation with it. She was like, this is our Camelot. Like, this is my Camelot. This is, and that was very powerful to me to hear.
Wow. Wow. I missed that one. I missed that. I missed that. Yeah, I was, my Haley, I mean, just listening to was a Mavis Staple,
Mhm.
and she was saying, even she just like Mahalia Jackson is still the queen of gospel,
Mhm.
still to this day.
Right.
And that's just huge. Um, the quote, my best quote of the movie of the docu-series or whatever they're going to call it, is when Stevie Wonder, because they were his, I guess his promoters were saying you shouldn't go,
Mhm.
right? And he was like, F them, right? He was like, he said, I never want my fear to put my dreams to sleep.
Mhm.
And I just thought that was so powerful.
It was.
It was just so powerful because we have fear, which is a normal feeling, and if we get so consumed in it, it can put out dreams. But he was like, I got to do this, and I hope people. I think that's what I want people to look at. There's a lot of good feeling, good. I don't know. It was just motivating for us in this moment, for Black folks in this moment, to look at that. Yeah, they were doing a lot, and we need to keep the momentum going in the way. Just don't. It's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear interacting with law enforcement.
Mhm.
So we got to push through that because I don't want people to get killed or and injured, which could hamper their dreams. And for me, that was just a powerful statement by Stevie Wonder.
I agree too. I was thinking about his placement inside of the film as well as other different musicians, and I was thinking how, I guess like powerful the word cultural or culture is, because I guess they did focus a lot on music, but that wasn't the only thing that they presented during the festival. There were comedians, there were speakers, there were poets who came out and spoke too. So I think like I want there hasn't been something like that to me that I've been able to have the chance to go to. And I don't know. That's maybe if I could pull some things, but I'm not. I wouldn't say that. I'm too young, but I don't know. I think that would be nice. I think they things like that don't happen now, in my opinion. Such as powerful as they did then, and then maybe it was because of the activism or the reason why activists had to be so active back then. Um,
Right, right,
but it was just I think the cultural part of it was very powerful. How they didn't just focus on music; they focused on a lot of different aspects of the culture in general.
right, right. Yeah, like I said, I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you was able to watch it because I've actually been telling people about it. Like I said, I usually don't because I mean, if it ain't got Bugs Bunny in it, I usually don't look at it. But this one was, I don't know, it was just powerful. And then, I mean, I don't want to keep giving it away, but it was just so cool. I think people need to watch it because Nina Simone at the end, I mean, she just took it to church. I mean, I had asked our producer we could get the song. I don't know whether I'm going to follow up on it, but she sang near the end, young, gifted, talented, and Black. For young kids need to hear that. I mean, you're young, gifted, and you're talented, and you're Black. I mean, it's all good. It's all good, and we need to help our youth understand that they're worthy.
Yeah,
They're worthy. They've got stuff to do, changes to make in this earth and in this universe. And that whole documentary just says the power to the people and keep it moving.
right,
Just we just I mean, the struggle ain't over. The
right.
struggle ain't over.
I like to ask a question. It's related to it, but I've been reading a lot of ideologies about it, but I guess we haven't really talked about it on the podcast. So I think this may be the right proper time to ask. So as I was mentioning culture and how we saw the video about everything that was shown really on the movie was Black. It was like Black everything, Black music, Black culture, Black writing, Black artists, and Black audience. Of course, there were others in the audience as well too, but that's what was most publicized. And I have read a lot about the ideology of how am I word this question? I guess, in your opinion, do you think, if I don't like the word segregation or segregated necessarily in regard to the question I want to ask, but I'm going to use it. Do you think that if African Americans or Black people were able to have or be segregated again, but now in a different and more highly positively connotated way, do you think it would thrive? Like, albeit, let me use that as an example. So for example, if we could have things such as what it is now, or for example, the things that happened in Tulsa, or the thriving city that happened in Tulsa before it got burned down, or other thriving Black cities that I was never educated about. If those could happen today without necessarily being integrated, then maybe not necessarily based on race, but culture specifically, do you think it would thrive?
Yes,
Okay.
I think so. If it were to happen that way, yes, I do believe it would survive.
Cool.
I do think it would survive
Thank you.
because because it would have survived then.
Right.
I mean, it would have survived then had it not been for white folks going, no, y'all can't have Tulsa. you know, so yeah, I think, no, you can't have Wilmington. We can't have all Black council down in Wilmington, North Carolina. So we're just going to get rid of that. So the thing is, yes, it can happen now, could happen in that moment, because it could have happened before, but we weren't, and still not totally in power, but we weren't even given a chance to do that. So yes, I believe it could happen. Yeah, because it happened. It
Right.
just allowed to continue to happen.
Right.
It was scary. Just as now it's scary. Some folks are, yeah. That
Thank
was,
you.
yeah.
I was just curious. It's an ideology that I read about a lot now, because a lot of people are saying, like, or there have been TikTok. Are you familiar with TikTok? You know what that app is, right? Yes.
Go
It's
ahead.
okay. It's okay. So I'm watching a lot of TikTok that asked, or TikToks that ask, I'm like, what's something on your mind that you probably will say that will probably make people mad? And then they go into talking about how segregation, if it had been, I guess, turned differently or pivoted differently, it could have been prosperous, or it could have been better than what it did. So it's been on my mind for like a week. That's why I was just curious. And now watching the movie makes me think about it too.
Yeah, no, I think it. I mean, that's almost like saying. I mean, does it have the same thing as to why we had to have HBCUs?
Right.
So we have great HBCUs. So that it works. I mean, we had to segregate in order to get our own education, because we get our ancestors got killed because they wanted to learn how to read. So we went and built an institution. So here we go. So yeah, I think that's a very valid thing. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about that, because it was just, for me, as a boomer, it was emotional. It was sad. I keep saying that, and again, because the conversation is still the same.
Right.
The conversation is still the same. And so for those of us who are here in this moment that we're in, it's our moment. It can be our moment, not just as a Black person, but collectively with our allies, because there were allies back in the day. Recently, I keep mentioning this, and at some point, I guess I'm going to have someone on from the Alternative Violence Project. But when I was trained, there was this elderly woman. It's Quaker, and a lot of the trainers are Quaker. That's their faith.
Right.
And this is a white woman who is in her 70s, maybe late 70s. And she tells the story of a cross being burned in her family's yard because her father chose to educate Black kids. And we forget about that. We forget about the abolitionists that were out there, who were white, that were helping us and helping some of our ancestors. And those are the stories that we got to remember and acknowledge, that we're, and even more so now, we have allies. But when you look at a 70-some-year-old white female, you don't automatically think that she as a child had a cross burned in her yard because of the actions of her father wanting to educate Black kids. And we got to remember that it's collective. We got to do it together. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to talk about it, and I ain't getting no money for promoting it. But if you have the time, check out Summer of Soul. It's also called what is it? What's the other name? They call it festival. What was it?
Oh, the 1969 Harlem Cultural Festival. Cultural Festival. That's what they
Okay,
call it.
yeah, cool.
And can I also recommend? I'm not, not promoting them, like she said,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
any from me. But there's another film that's on Netflix or any streaming platform that not any, but a few different other streaming platforms other than that one. That's called Best of Enemies. Have you heard of that one as well too?
I have, but I have not watched that one. Should I?
Yes, it's based in Durham.
Oh, that's the one with the black female. I can't think. I knew her. Ann Atwater.
Yes.
Yeah, I knew her. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
just watched that recently too. That's a good film as well.
Yeah, I familiar with it. Knew her. Yeah, I knew her, but I've
That's
not watched the movie.
You knew her. Like
Yeah,
you knew her. Knew
I
her.
knew her. Yeah, I knew her.
Yes, you famous.
I'm not famous. She just happened to live in a. She lived in a community that I patrol, and I've taught. Yeah. One of the stories she actually called one day, and she was like, because she did so much work in the community,
Mhm.
she was aging, as we all do, and sort of activism was come, but people just continue to call her for everything.
Mhm.
And she told me one day, she said, I can't anymore. She just at that point, just time for her to rest. But yeah, I knew Ann Atwater. So yeah,
No,
but yeah,
that's
okay, I will watch that. Yeah, I will definitely watch that. You're right. And if anybody doesn't know that, you want to tell them exactly the premise of that?
or like what it's based upon.
Yes.
So it's based on Ann Atwater and I think his name was CP. CP Ellis, I think was his last
I
name.
think so. Yeah, I can't remember.
But CP Ellis was a local KKK leader, and Atwater was a civil rights activist. And I think it was the summer or around like 1971, I believe, but they were working on the desegregation of schools in Durham. And the movie kind of discusses how they started off as enemies, but eventually worked together to find a common goal in regarding to the desegregation of the schools in Durham.
And I think that's a good one to end on, because about the bottom line is, no matter how different we are on either side of these tables, there is some commonality in the middle of the table, and we all need to be there. So that's a good one. I really, really appreciate you. Yeah, I'll take a look at that. So anyway, you got any last parting words besides plugging a movie?
That's good. I'm trying to think. I think both of those films kind of taught me something, but I guess reminded me of something about how we get so caught up in life and in our day-to-day cycles and the cyclical process of getting up, going to work and everything, but don't forget to find the joys in, I guess, spending time with other people, because everyone doesn't enjoy that, but if you do enjoy it, then I feel like spending time with other people is very beneficial. I'm going home this weekend, actually going to go see Uncle Henry this weekend with your mama. So being able to do that, I just makes me feel good to be able to do that with other people. So spend time with your loved ones and your friends and family if you have time.
Yeah, I think that's a good note to lead on. So yeah, spend times with those you love, definitely, especially during this moment. All right. So thanks everybody again for joining us. Hopefully you picked up something. Hopefully you'll get to watch the festival movie that we just talked about. As always, stay well, safe, peace.